I got the autism spectrum disorder for this assessment. The medical definition of autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a neurological and developmental disorder that begins early in childhood and lasts throughout a person's life. Simpler terms to put that is the autism or autism spectrum disorder refers to a range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech and nonverbal communication, as well as by unique strengths and differences. So on the spectrum, you can classify Asperger's syndrome on the spectrum. It's one of the more milder forms of autism. So as you go up in the scale, the autism it becomes more severe. There are many different characteristics of ASD. The biggest one that's most noticeable to people is their social interactions. So they're always going to have this issue. They're always going to have to work through a social interaction, whether it's with adults, peers, anyone that is in their life. As educators, we need to be there to help them learn different tools to work through these interactions so they become more comfortable with different people. Someone with ASD is going to always want to do the same thing over and over again. So the younger students who have ASD, they're going to play with the same truck all the time, every day, and they're not going to want anybody else to use that truck. They need us as educators to help them learn how to use like the red truck instead of the blue truck and let other friends come and play with them. It's going to be very hard at first, but if they learn different tools to work through that, it will become easier for them. The symptoms of ASD typically come within the first year of a child's life. Not always true. Someone might develop it later in life, but if you look back in their life, you probably can notice different things that happen that says they did have ASD. The symptoms that hurt the individual's ability to function socially at school or work or other areas of life. So life can get pretty hard if they don't understand or learn how to cope with different changes and different people in their life. There are many different things to assess a child to see if they have ASD. Most of the assessment is done through observing a child, watching them do social interactions, communicate with peers, communicate with their teacher, their parents. Anything like that helps the observer know what level they are at. And then they'll do this multiple different times in a child's life, so they'll see how they've developed and how they've changed over time. Are they getting better? Are they not getting better? All these different things help with the assessment. The student will also endure the basic hearing, speech, language, developmental level, and social behavior tests. They have to go through this, most likely because they want to make sure that none of this is delayed, because someone with ASD does usually have developmental delays. They want to make sure that their hearing, speech, and language and all the important stuff is there to help them learn different things. The student will also be put in different social areas. So they're going to be put in the school environment and see how they handle the academic part. They're going to be put in the social part of a school where how do they play with their peers. They're going to be observed at home with their parents and how they interact with their siblings and their parents. They're going to watch a child interact with new people at the hospital where they're being assessed, or new people coming to the home, different things like that. They're going to try to change their schedule and see how they handle that situation as well. All these things influence how they assess the child and where the child is going to be put on the spectrum. The child is going to be evaluated by a developmental pediatrician, a child neurologist, and a child psychologist or psychiatrist. The child neurologist is one of the most important ones to be evaluated by because they can look at the chromosomes and the genetic testing to see if the child holds those things for ASD. The screening's not just done once and you're done. They're going to try to do it when they're younger at 9, 18, and 24 to 30 months old. The child may change and get better through this time, or they might get worse as they get older. It depends on the child. Every child is different. As educators, we have many different things to look at with a child with ASD. The first thing we're going to need to do is start putting plans in place. So the IEP, the FBA, and the VIP. The IEP is going to tell us what our goals are socially and academically for this child and how we want them to succeed in meeting these goals. The FBA is likely going to happen. Most students with ASD might become aggressive if they don't like the change or they don't like what's happening. So learning what triggers those emotions, learning how the child handles those, finding different ways to hopefully not have those happen in the classroom will all be part of the FBA. And then that will lead into your VIP plan, where the educator and anybody working with the student in the school system are going to put in place a plan to help the child intervene before it gets way out of hand, before they start getting mad, or before they even shut down and there's no way of getting to them right now. All these plans are put in place for a different reason. They all have a very big importance with a student who has ASD. All adults that work with the student, they need to understand the goals that are made to help the student succeed. If they don't understand these goals, they need to find someone who does to help them understand why we have these goals and how we're going to help them. Because if they don't understand it, the child won't succeed. There are many support groups for parents, different websites. The hospital that you get assessed at will have support groups for the parents to go to. Professionals that work with the student are very resourceful. They're going to know the ins and outs of that child specifically. So for the parents to go and get comfortable with them, to talk about their child, is a good way to learn more about ASD. As educators, we can talk with other colleagues that has dealt with a student with ASD. We can find many different research through our school or through on your own, learning about the new teaching strategies that are used with students with ASD. There are many of them. Numerous ones come out every day. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned everything there is to know about ASD.